Hello and welcome to KXII 12 News Now. My name is Robin Key. Now, the time is 12:31, and on this Monday, September 29th, thank you very much for joining us for your midday news update. There's been a lot going on in Texoma, so let's get right into your local headlines. Now, the type of school announcement that you never want to hear, a Wakanaka school counselor has been arrested for rape of a student. Johnson County Sheriff Gary Dodd says Tabitha Brooks, which was allegedly in a sexual relationship with the child, who was also a family member. Dodd says it appears to be an isolated incident and there is no sign of the other students having been in danger. Brooks is in the Johnson County Jail. She has been suspended by the school pending an investigation. An officer was injured in yet another police chase yesterday. According to the Bouchetot Police Department, this pursuit went east on Highway 70 at high speeds. Entering Hugo, the suspect rear-ended the Bouchetot officer, forcing him to lose control and flip upside down in a small creek. The officer sustained minor injuries, but thankfully is okay. 19-year-old Landon Clark and 18-year-old Aiden Reeves are now in custody. Deputies are still searching for the man who fled from law enforcement during a different vehicle pursuit on Saturday, this one in Love County. The office said the individual ran into a wooded area and they believe he was picked up nearby. A warrant was released for his arrest. Remember the Carter County police pursuit that ended in a violent crash? Well, charges have now been filed against the suspect. Laramie Hartman of Bernieville has been charged with 6 felonies, including driving under the influence of drugs, causing great bodily harm, and a state trooper suffered broken bones in the crash last week. If he is convicted, Hartman could get up to 20 years. An interesting story out of Colbert this weekend, where at least 19 car burglaries happened. Colbert police say that most of them happened before 5 a.m. Sunday morning, and it was mostly on the east side of town. We have a reporter on this story today, and we'll have more updated information for you as soon as we can. Speaking of driving, truck drivers, listen up. New commercial driver's license regulations are coming to Texas. Now, the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, is putting several states on notice, explaining that under the new rules, non-citizens will not be eligible for a commercial driver's license, or CDL, unless they get an employment-based visa and undergo mandatory federal immigration status checks. This can be very expensive. He claims that this will keep Americans safe on the roadways, and states that do not comply will risk losing federal funding.
Get into compliance now, or we'll pull funding and we'll force you into compliance.
These changes come after 3 fatal accidents this year in Florida, Texas, and Alabama. Officials say that these wrecks were caused by immigrant truck drivers who never should have received licenses. A heartwarming story in Denison. 5 firefighting EMTs are being praised for helping deliver a baby last week. On Wednesday, a woman called 911 saying she was in labor 2 weeks before her due date. When firefighters got to Amber Scott's home, it was too late to make it to the hospital, and they ended up successfully delivering the baby girl right there. Welcome to the world, baby Michaela. The Iron Ore Creek Cemetery in Denison is now officially marked as a historic Texas cemetery. Cemetery records show that the ones buried here have connections to a Baptist church that once stood in the same location. People from all over Grayson County came out to the ceremony as they unveiled their marker. The marker comes after the cemetery was named a historic landmark in 2010, getting the physical recognition 15 years later.
We should all value our history, because once we lose our history, we've lost a tremendous amount of knowledge, and knowledge is power.
This cemetery is now one of the 185 historical markers here in Grayson County. crazy thing about that actually is that the cemetery is older than the town of Denison itself. It's truly a huge amount of history here in the Texoma area. Now, do not worry, that is not the only news that is happening here today, this week, or even just this hour in Texoma and beyond. We will be coming back for your regional and national news after just a short break, so do not exit out yet. Welcome back to KXII 12 News Now. We're moving on to our regional and national news, starting with the national news that has captured the nation's attention. That is a church attack in Michigan yesterday. It has left at least 4 people dead and multiple others, including children, injured. Police say that a man crushed his truck into the Church of Jesus Latter-day Saints in Grand Block Township, where hundreds of people were attending Sunday services. The suspect began shooting with an assault rifle and then used gasoline to set a fire that grew into a large blaze. Here we have video of the fire with the dispatch calls that were being made.
We have an active shooter at the church, and PD's on scene saying the building is also on fire.
I need manpower up here ASAP. I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building.
I need help in here, please. I'm here at IC. I need help in here.
Now, as this video continues here, perfect, we just switched to more photos of the fire. Authorities said the shooter died during an exchange of gunfire with the police. Like I said, 8 others were wounded, and authorities are still searching for more victims. The shooter's motivation is unknown. He, however, was identified. He is been identified as 40-year-old U.S. Marine veteran Thomas Jacob Sanford, who served in the Iraq War. A Marine Corps spokesperson told one of our partners, CNN, that he served as a sergeant and received several medals for his service, which lasted from 2004 to 2008. Obviously, people are very interested in what his motive could have been, and our hearts go out to the entire community. In Austin, Texas police say that they have solved the so-called yogurt shop murders from 1991. For years, the unsolved killing of 4 teenage girls in an Austin yogurt shop in 1991 had haunted investigators in the Texas capital. 2 men were charged and convicted, only to have DNA evidence exonerate them. That meant that the girls' brutal deaths, where they were bound, gagged, and shot before the building was set on fire, was an enduring mystery. Then Friday, authorities announced DNA evidence identified a new suspect, Robert Eugene Brashers, a long-dead serial killer linked to several deaths and rapes across the country. Police are sharing new information today, but first, while we wait for that, let's get caught up on what happened. The killings happened on December 9th, 1991 at an I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop in Austin. Around closing time, investigators say someone entered the store through the back door and attacked 4 teens before setting the building on fire. 8 years passed before police made an arrest in 1990. Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott had been teenagers at the time of the murder. They initially confessed, implicating each other. They were tried and convicted, even though they recanted and said that their statements were made under duress. More years passed, the convictions were overturned on appeals, and then prosecutors said that more advanced DNA analysis pointed to a different suspect. A judge ordered both men freed in 2009. Now, that's where we were. What do we know about the current suspect? Well, Brashers died in 1999 when he shot himself during an hours-long standoff with the police at a motel in Kennett, Missouri. In the years after his death, police were able to use advances in forensic DNA analysis to connect him to a string of unsolved killings, and now they say that he's been connected to these. We're still waiting for an update from the Austin police, but check back with our shows tonight to see what we've learned since then. If you want more details about the case itself, the case that was a subject of a recent HBO documentary, so you can get more details there. Now, in broader national news, President Trump plans to send 200 National Guard troops to Portland, Oregon, claiming the city is, quote, war-ravaged. Trump says the troops will protect, quote, ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists, unquote. The declaration sparked protests in Portland, that's what we're seeing here, and state officials filed suit against the administration challenging the deployment. Oregon Governor Tina Kark says that the president is not listening to local leaders about what is really needed to combat crime and mental health issues.
When the president and I spoke yesterday, I told him in very plain language that there is no insurrection or threat to public safety that necessitates military intervention in Portland or any other city in our state.
President Trump earlier authorized the use of federal troops in Memphis, Tennessee, and they're set to arrive as early as today. Agents from 13 agencies will make up the Memphis Safe Task Force to help local law enforcement fight crime. It includes unarmed National Guard troops, several hundred state police members, and members of ICE and the DEA. The top 4 congressional leaders will meet with President Donald Trump at the White House today as Washington works to avoid a looming government shutdown. The meeting comes as government funding is set to run out on Tuesday night. Yeah, that's tomorrow night, with both sides remaining dug in on their positions. Although each shutdown differs, analysts say that this would be unlike any federal funding crunch before. Trump and the White House Office of Management and Budget have signaled a new approach, urging agencies to reduce staff in unfunded programs that do not align with the president's priorities. Republicans are daring Democrats to vote against legislation that would keep government funding mostly at current levels. Democrats are holding firm and using one of their few points of leverage to demand action on extending healthcare benefits. The White House says that Trump is, quote, giving Democrats one last chance to be reasonable, unquote. Speaking of the president, President Donald Trump will speak at a hastily called meeting of top military leaders. An AP source says that word comes from a White House official. Hundreds of generals and admirals have been summoned with little notice by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for the gathering Tuesday at the Marine Corps Base in Quantico, Virginia. The White House official was not authorized to discuss the president's plans before a public announcement about his attendance and spoke on condition of anonymity. Now, days after using a UN address to reject international demands for an end to the war in Gaza, today, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is meeting with President Donald Trump to discuss the path ahead in the brutal conflict that is in Israel. President Trump has promised, quote, something special, unquote, is coming on Gaza as Israel officials say that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reservations about the White House's 21-point ceasefire and post-war grievance plan. The two leaders will meet at the White House today for a high-stakes discussion that Trump has boasted would end the war in Gaza. Today's meeting in Washington comes at a tenuous moment. Israel is increasingly isolated after losing support from many countries that were its long, steadfast allies. At home, Netanyahu's governing coalition appears more fragile than ever, and the White House is showing signs of impatience. The question now is whether Trump will step up pressure on Israel to wind down the long conflict. All of these stories, of course, are continuing to update throughout the day. So while this is the most updated news that we've got for you now, you will not want to step away from Channel 12 to get more information throughout the day. So if you have enjoyed this KXII News Now, we will be here tomorrow. Same time, 12:30, same place, CTV and YouTube. Of course, if you want more, and I recommend that you continue following these stories as they go, then hop on to Channel 12 later for our 4, 5, 6, and 10. There you will be able to get all the most updated information in Texoma and beyond. Now, I wish that some of these stories were a little bit more updated or perhaps had a little bit more information. There you go. Go to KXII.com and there you will find all of our reporting, national, regional, and here in Texoma from, of course, our very own reporters. Also, do not forget to follow us on our socials. That is Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, and of course, YouTube. There you will find constant updates, exclusive content, and all our stories, old and new. But until tomorrow, Texoma, thank you for watching, and we hope you have a good day.